Swadika, thank you for joining us on Newsline. We're broadcasting live on NBT, Radio Thailand, FM 88, and on NBT World. It's a Tuesday, and the date is January 27th of 2015. And you're with me, Sandra Hanutsaha. Welcome to today's segment of Thailand Moves Forward. In our first story, Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha has insisted that Thai Airways is not going bankrupt as rumored. In response to the rumors of Thai Airways being insolvent, General Prayut said the government is now reaching out to the national carrier. A meeting was also held yesterday to find ways to return the flag carrier in the black. The government will aim at reducing costs and increasing revenues. Some of its assets, such as planes that are no longer in use, will be sold. Also speaking about the rice situation, General Prayut disclosed that the Ministry of Commerce had already auctioned off 1 million tons of rice in the government's stockpile. Despite the auction, the price of the new crop of rice will not be affected. The government also has a policy of selling grains at lower prices. Every province is expected to follow suit, and grains and their quality must be divided into categories before selling. As for the new season of rice farming, the government will provide seeds and fertilizers in an attempt to help curb the cost of production for farmers. Foreign Minister General Thanasak Patimaprakon and Daniel Russell, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs, addressed the country's long-term relationship as well as other pressing issues, including human trafficking. Sekwanameti, Director General of the Department of Information and spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, addressed journalists at a press conference that the meeting had been friendly, with the two reaffirming their close relationship. He said Thailand is the country in the ASEAN region which has been the longest-standing ally of the United States for more than 180 years. Thailand and the United States also had bilateral talks on various topics, including transnational crime, drugs, violence, human trafficking, and diseases. The pressing issue of human trafficking was acknowledged, with Thailand reaffirming its determination to eliminate them from the country. He said that the Trafficking in Persons report on Thailand's human trafficking preventive measures will be sent to the United States at the end of this month for evaluation. Mr. Russell also touched on the subject of putting an end to martial law. In response, Thanasak said that Thailand explained about the reform roadmap. Answering some reporters' questions, he said that there was no conversation about the impeachment of former Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra. On January 23rd of 2015, the National Legislative Assembly, or NLA, voted to impeach former Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra for her failure to halt or rectify the costly and corrupt rice pledging scheme, effectively banning her from political activity for 5 years. She now faces a criminal charge in the Supreme Court for political office holders, and Kun Paladda Mongsiri has the details for us.
NLA President Pornphet Vichitulachai affirmed that the motion to impeach the former Prime Minister was conducted based on impartiality, justice, and the rule of law, while related graft cases of the former Prime Minister are currently undergoing the judicial process, which are beyond the jurisdiction of the government. The case of her dereliction of duty in the rice pledging scheme was presented to the NLA by the National Anti-Corruption Commission, or NACC. The NLA resolved to deliberate the case in order to hear from both sides before proceeding with the motion to impeach. NACC Commissioner Wisha Mahakun said the Yingluck's rice pledging scheme had promised rice growers a premium per ton that was far too high from the global market price, while the rice in the stockpiles were sold to associate buyers at very low prices. Furthermore, he said the administration had proceeded with the costly and damaging program despite continuous pleas by the NACC and the Office of the Auditor General to halt the program. The project not only resulted in tremendous losses of government funds and fostered corrupt practices, but participating farmers were also plunged into financial crisis because they had to wait too long for the pledge money. Based on these findings, the NACC therefore concluded that Ms. Yingluck be impeached for allowing the catastrophic program to continue under her watch. The former Prime Minister questioned the legality and impartiality of the impeachment trial, arguing that the NLA had no power to consider impeachment, that the NLA was not a legitimate legislative body, and that the entire trial was politically motivated. She made her case that the numbers presented by the NACC regarding the project's estimated loss were inaccurate, and that the rice pledging scheme indeed contributed to increased income for participating farmers. Furthermore, she argued that her administration undertook all possible steps to ensure the project's transparency and was not dismissal of its criticisms. Members of the NLA were given the chance to submit questions pertaining to the case and were able to hear from the NACC chairman regarding questions directed towards the NACC's investigation. However, they were unable to have their questions answered by the defendant as the former Prime Minister was not present at the hearings session. Presenting the NACC's closing statement, Commissioner Wisha Mahakun affirmed the committee's thorough and impartial investigation into the rice pledging program, as well as its resolve that the rice pledging scheme was indeed a corrupt as costly project and that Ms. Yingluck was indeed guilty of her dereliction of duty. The former Prime Minister closed her defense by saying the 5-year ban would unfairly limit her political rights, while she affirmed that the rice pledging scheme was a crucial program that succeeded in raising the well-being of farmers. The NLA heard the closing statements from both sides and proceeded to vote in a closed ballot based on their own conclusions of the case. Regardless of the rebukes by the former Prime Minister, most of the NLA were not convinced of Ms. Yingluck's innocence, as 190 out of the 219 present at the day voted to impeach the former Prime Minister. NLA First Vice President Surachai Liangmunlechai gave strong assurance that the decision by the NLA was not lobbied or manipulated by third parties, was confident that the decision would not affect the reconciliation process of the country. This is Palada Mungsidi reporting.
Thank you to Queen Palada for that report. And the National Reform Council, or NRC, has been briefed on the progress of the charter rewrite process. General Ledrat Ratanawanit, advisor and spokesperson to the Constitution Drafting Committee, or CDC, reported on the progress of the charter drafting to the NRC meeting, where members of the reform body were told that the CDC had already discussed over 90 sections, including provisions pertaining to the royal family, civic duty, individual rights and liberty, public involvement in politics, and judicial power. Furthermore, General Ledrat informed the NRC meeting that the new charter would allow Thai citizens with voting rights to have a say in constitutional amendments, or under circumstances where cabinet ministers resolve to stage a public referendum. The National Reform Council, or NRC, has given its approval to the report from the recent vision workshop, which will be a blueprint for the reform of Thailand. NRC members voted 192 to 2 with 3 abstentions to approve the vision workshop report, which illustrated how the reform process in Thailand will transpire. The NRC has been particularly keen to move on with the reform plan in the areas of politics, the justice system, and sustainable development. For the political reform, the Council will focus on mechanisms to clamp down on corruption and the overhaul of the party system to allow only qualified and decent politicians to enter Parliament. As for the justice system, the NRC is aiming to reform police affairs and the inspection of the government's exercise of power. And to achieve sustainable development, the Reform Council will spend more time in tackling other issues, such as immigrant workers, while turning Thailand into the transportation hub of Southeast Asia. The Constitutional Drafting Committee, or CDC, has agreed to include in the new charter a condition for all members of all organizations set up by the Constitution to declare their wealth to the Anti-Graft Agency. CDC spokesman General Lerrat Ratanawanit said that the charter drafters have completed the drafting of 120 articles of the new Constitution. In their work on Part 3 of the draft charter, which involves the rule of law and the inspection of the government's exercises of power, General Lerrat said that the CDC agreed to include a new condition that all members of all organizations established by the order of the Constitution would be required to declare their assets. He explained that all members of any agencies which have been tasked with the inspection of any political office holders and government officials are to declare their and their spouses' assets and liabilities, as well as those of their children under 21 years of age, to the National Anti-Corruption Commission. General Lerrat noted that such a condition has, until now, been set only for the Prime Minister, members of Parliament, senators, government officials, and members of local administrative offices. The Ministry of Energy is set to implement measures to alleviate the effects of the rising price of cooking gas on low-income earners in February. Mr. Tawarat Sutabut, Deputy Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Energy, said yesterday the revamp of the cooking gas price structure will be implemented in February. Cooking gas prices for the household and transport sectors will be raised to reflect the market price. Mr. Tawarat indicated that as part of assistance measures, the government will allow households that use less than 90 units of electricity per month the right to purchase cooking gas at the old price. A limit of 18 kilograms per 3 months will be imposed. Hawkers, food vendors, and very small eateries will be able to buy 150 kilograms of gas per 10 months, or 10 tanks per month. To be able to make gas purchases under the scheme, those eligible must register at the Provincial Energy Ministry Office or the Energy Service Center in Bangkok. Interior Minister Anupong Paujinda has assigned interior officials to expedite assistance to people in cold-hit provinces. At present, 432 districts and 36 provinces have been declared cold disaster zones. 20 of those districts are in the northeast, 13 in the north, and 3 in the central plains. Tatay Promlet, the Director General of the Disaster Prevention and Mitigation Department, advised people to be more careful when building a fire for warmth. Motorists should turn on fog lamps and keep a safe following distance behind vehicles in front of them. The Public Relations Department has officially joined in efforts to promote social equality for people with disabilities as part of Thailand's preparation for the opening of the ASEAN Economic Community, or AEC. PRD Director General Apinan Jantarangsi said that the Public Relations Department has just entered an agreement with the Redemptorist Foundation for People with Disabilities to carry out several tasks for the handicapped. Mr. Apinan said the agreement is in accordance with one of the policies of General Prayut Chan-o-cha's government that focuses on the elimination of social inequality, particularly among the physically challenged, before the emergence of the AEC later this year.
ในส่วนของกรมประชาสัมพันธ์นั้นเราก็จะใช้สื่อที่เรามีอยู่ทั้งวิทยุและโทรทัศน์รวมทั้งโซเชียลมีเดียในการเผยแพร่ข้อมูลข่าวสารไม่ว่าจะเป็นหลักการอยู่ร่วมกันนะครับหลักกฎหมายที่องค์กรต่างๆจะต้องให้โอกาสคนพิการการเผยแพร่ข้อมูลข่าวสารเกี่ยวกับการทำงานของคนพิการก็ตามหรือทิศทางการพัฒนาในอนาคตสิ่งเหล่านี้ครับเป็นนโยบายสำคัญของรัฐบาลอยู่แล้วที่จะให้โอกาสคนพิการ
He added that among many plans that both organizations will work on together are the dissemination of information about living with disabilities and the encouragement of the handicapped to work in the mass communication sector. The National Broadcasting and Telecommunications Commissioner, NBTC, suggests people check whether their digital TV coupons have been sent to them yet and reminds them to use theirs before the coupons expire on the 31st of May of 2015. Secretary General of the NBTC, Takon Tantasit, said those who had not received a digital TV coupon could log on to the website http://digital.nbtc.go.th to check the coupon status by using their 11-digit house registration number. If they were eligible to receive a coupon, the website would give them a 13-digit tracking number, which could be used to track their coupon at the Thailand Post's website. Those who are eligible for the digital TV coupons but have not yet received them can contact a post office in their area to get their coupon in person. The coupons in the first lot will expire on the 31st of May this year. People can also check their coupon status by calling the NBTC hotline at 1200, again that is 1200, and the operators will check it for them immediately. 822 children have fallen ill with hand, foot, and mouth disease in just 19 days since the beginning of the year, according to the Ministry of Public Health. Health officials indicated the figure was not out of the norm for the cold season, when the disease is easily spread, although it was significant enough to prompt the Public Health Ministry to warn the public to exercise caution. People are urged to wash their hands often and to keep children's toys and bedrooms clean. Infected children must take leave from school to avoid spreading the disease. Schools are being asked to send children with symptoms home. Health officials said that although easily transmitted, hand, foot, and mouth disease generally does not cause severe symptoms in those infected, and patients can expect to have a hard time eating and swallowing. And that is the end of today's edition of Thailand Moves Forward. It's time for a quick break, but first here's a look at the exchange rates and commodity prices.
Maintain a strong nation, Thailand is promoting 12 core values for the good of the people. The fifth core value: maintaining preservation of Thai traditions and cultures.
Even if we don't see them, they are amongst us. And they're hungry. Slay your power-sucking monsters. Take their power away. Think when you plug.
NBT World, a 24-hour English language television service operated by the National News Bureau of Thailand, or NNT, is designed to bring the most reliable information about Thailand to the international community. NBT World is available on various platforms, including via C-band set-top boxes, GMMZ Channel 202, PSI Channel 272, and a live stream on thainews.prd.go.th/newsing. You can also follow us on facebook.com/NNT News or download the PRD News EN application on your smartphones. NBT World, a vision of Thailand.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsline. 43 people were killed in intense fighting between police commandos and Muslim insurgents in the southern Philippines on Sunday, placing strains on a peace process designed to end decades of conflict in the restive region. The majority of the losses were on the government side, with 37 members of the elite Special Action Force unit of the Philippine National Police killed, police said in a statement. 6 militants were killed and 11 wounded in the clashes, which raged for 12 hours in a Masapano town, Mindanao, police said. Officials and rebel groups said members of both the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, with whom the government had signed a peace agreement, and the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters, with whom it has not, were involved in the firefight. Grisly footage purporting to be of the aftermath of the battle was circulated online, showing uniformed bodies strewn in a rice field. And a healthy rhinoceros was born at Copenhagen Zoo on Saturday, the first to be born at the zoo in 35 years. According to the zoo, which released a video of the birth, it went smoothly and mother and calf are doing well. Shortly after the birth, the little calf, who weighed about 50 kilograms, got onto his feet with some gentle prodding from his mother. Some moments later, he took his first steps. Mother and calf will now get some peace and quiet before they are shown to the public. Rhinos are among the world's most critically endangered species. According to the San Diego Zoo, there are only about 30,000 rhinos of all types left in the world, and a rhinoceros is believed to be killed by poachers somewhere in the world every 8 hours. And that's it for today's edition of Newsline. If you have any comments or suggestions, please feel free to email them to us at newsline.nbt@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook by simply typing in NNT. And you can check out our website at thainews.prd.go.th/newsing. We're saying goodbye today with footage of Paulina Vega from Barranquilla, Colombia, who was named Miss Universe on Sunday at the annual beauty pageant, beating out 87 other contestants from around the globe. I'm Sandra Hanut Saha. Have a great day. Sawadee ka.